My guest today, I say this often, but it's true. Someone I've wanted to talk to for a long time, and comes under the banner of someone that when I see them, it's always for little short periods of time. It's all around work, and we never get to talk properly for more than a few minutes. Today, we put that right. Please welcome, and I don't know how she'll respond to this, a piece of the comedy furniture.
Crikey, which piece? The wardrobe, maybe, or something larger.
It's Jo Brand.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Not at all. Nice to see you.
How long have we sort of known each other for?
Well,
It's a while now.
yes. When did you start
When did I blossom?
your wonderful comedy career?
You had to look away from me as you said that.
Well,
Well, I don't like to lie, Rob.
Come on. You've done well, and you know you
That
have.
was
Stop
good.
it.
When did you start your wonderful comedy career? Well, I broke through, Joe, in 2000. When did you emerge?
I emerged in, oh lordy. Well, emerged, you mean got a bit of profile, or emerged, started doing
Got a bit of
stand-up?
profile.
I'd say probably 1988.
Good Lord
I know.
almighty.
I know. It was Friday Night Live, and it just went very well for me, and I got offered to come back on the same series, which is quite unusual.
Were you on that with an act that you had honed through hard, repetitive work?
Not really, Rob. I think at the time I had no idea how you did comedy, or how you presented yourself, what you said, what you looked like. And so I just stood there and did what I thought were funny jokes. But I think the big problem for me was always the delivery. I was described at my first Edinburgh as speaking as if I was reading the football results, because I had a very monotone delivery, no expression whatsoever. And that was all to do with stage fright plus lack of skill.
You hadn't studied comedians. You hadn't studied comedy. You came from medicine, from psychiatric nursing.
That's right. Yes, I hadn't studied comedians. I tend to think, in a very broad sense, that's because I'm female. And I don't think women have that gene that allows them to absolutely get to the bottom of and pick up information about individual comedians, how long they worked for, what they do, what their background is. No.
I find that a bit sexist. You're saying that just because I'm a man.
Let me just tell you, Rob, you can't be sexist if you're a woman, because let me just tell you,
Go on,
I've always believed
explain
this.
it to me.
The ism is about power, and as things stand at the moment, men still have more power than women.
Jo Brand speaking earlier
Thank
today in London. I studied comedians.
Did you? I
being
bet
a
you
man.
did. You strike me as that sort of person.
Thinks, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing, I think. I mean, I kind of feel bad that I didn't, in a way, because maybe I would have learnt more. I actually didn't have a plan. I just wanted to see if I could make people laugh, people that I didn't know.
So psychiatric nurse by day,
Yeah.
comedian by night.
Yes.
How did that go?
Well,
Evidently very well.
all right. Obviously, it didn't start very well, because I took no advice whatsoever. So my first few gigs, open spots, were terrible. I am blessed with, particularly from having been like a mental health nurse, I suppose, I'm blessed with not really caring, or not having to care about the sorts of things that people said to me, because I ended up running a 24-hour emergency clinic where people were in a really high state of disturbance and would have to be to come into a place like that, many times brought by the police. They didn't want to be there. I was the figurehead who ran the place. So I was the one that got all the abuse.
Are we talking about the audiences now, or the 24-hour clinic?
Well, we're talking about the clinic now, but
That was meant to be a joke. It didn't land. I was hoping for. You see, you said they didn't want to be there. I was the figurehead. I thought, here's an opportunity for a joke. Was that the audience or the clinic? You took it entirely at face value.
I did.
No, Rob, that was the clinic.
I do that face value thing a bit too much. That was the clinic, Rob. Well, let's face it, obviously sometimes they didn't want to be there. But I kind of think as a budding comic, that's where you learn your
Yeah.
skills.
So you, how did you, we said that you were doing the stand-up comedy and being a psychiatric nurse, but at some point you were being a psychiatric nurse. Who said, "God, you're very witty, Joe. You're very funny. You make us laugh." How did that happen?
I suppose my friends said that to me, and
Mm.
I used to say to them all the time, I really want to have a go at stand up. And I think they got so sick of me saying it.
Oh, so it was something you wanted to do. But
Yeah.
where did that come from?
I've no idea. I mean,
Really?
I come from a family, and my brother was hilarious. My older brother, much funnier than me, but in a much more traditional way. In
Mm.
terms of like a joke teller,
Yeah.
he was almost like Bob Monkhouse. He had an absolutely inexhaustible supply
Yeah.
of some awful jokes and some brilliant ones. And my dad was funny as well when he wasn't being depressed. Poor old dad. And my mum is very funny too. So a therapist who was very superficial might say it was because I was trying to cheer my dad up
Yeah.
because he was so low a lot of the time. And I used to use a lot of kind of humor at work as well. Because I think that's one thing you have to be. You are supposed to obviously be a professional when you're nursing, but I think humor, the two things that relaxed people were humor
Mm.
and having a cigarette with them. And so using humor kind of broke down a few barriers I used to find.
So it was more from the family than external things like watching a particular comedian and thinking, "Oh, I want to do that."
I suppose so, because in my day, it's making me sound like I'm about 95, which I'm not far off. There weren't very many. Obviously, Victoria Wood was the
Yeah.
absolute,
Yeah. Yeah.
apex. But I kind of knew that we were very different from one another. Because I remember her saying to me once, "Oh, I wish I could be really rude like you."
She.
And I said to her, "Well, I really wish I could not be rude like you,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then no one ever really wants what they've actually got, do they?"
This is what I talked to Jimmy Carr about this, about how we value what we don't have, what
Yeah,
the other person
completely.
has. Oh my God, that's proper. What they do is proper. I wish I could do that.
Absolutely. And I think her kind of musical skills and her
Yeah.
her attention to
Oh
detail
yeah.
was
Yeah.
legendary.
Yeah.
And I don't have that
Yeah.
gene at all.
Yeah. Is there stuff you haven't done that you want to do? Or are you a little bit like me, very happy with where you are and just more of the same?
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
that sort of person. Did you ever have a plan?
Not a plan. I had hopes and dreams and aspirations
No, I think having a plan is quite dangerous.
in case it doesn't come off.
Yes, absolutely. And then you're just bitter.
Did you visualize?
No.
I did.
Did you? What did you visualize?
Being
What?
on Parkinson.
Oh, did you?
When I couldn't get to sleep, I used to imagine being sat opposite Michael Parkinson. I mean, you had a wonderful career, Rob. It's gone awfully well. This is when I was nobody, doing nothing. I mean, it's gone so well. I mean, with this, with that, I'll come back to Peter Sellers and Peter will have to wait. That I
Yes.
honestly did. And to help me get to sleep. And I look back at it now and I think that was creative visualization, dreaming.
I never had a visualization.
So when you were starting to do stand up, were you yearning? Were you dreaming? Were you aspiring to something?
Just literally to making people laugh.
Oh, such a lovely purity
Well,
to
it's
you.
hardly pure, but it was just so much easier. I mean, my motto is lower your expectations. Always has been, you know, because I think
What,
that's
your audience
life.
coming to see you or you in life, people in life?
People in life.
Okay, yeah. And your audience, the motto is get ready. This is the one. Here it comes.
Yeah, yeah. I think some people are so unrealistic, and you need some pragmatic people around you saying to you, look, I know you think that you can go all the way with this, but really lower your expectations because it's a lottery.
It is a lottery, but the thing I always say is that determination is more important than talent. Discuss.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with you
Thank
there
you.
in
Let's leave
many
it there. She
ways.
wouldn't disagree with me. It's as simple as that.
But look at some of the comics that were around in the early days who didn't what you would call make it.
Yes.
That you can't say that a lot of them were any
No.
worse.
Well, can all remember people used to take the roof off at Jongleurs or somewhere like
Yeah,
that, I would be doing a 20 and they would come on after me and they would absolutely destroy at
yeah,
sort of Robin Williams-esque proportions.
absolutely.
And as you said, you've got to be careful how you phrase this, but haven't made it,
It.
for want of a
Yeah,
better
yeah. I
expression.
mean, in terms of being a public figure that a
Yes,
lot of people know.
who can afford to coast for a while doing tat.
Right.
That's the title of my next memoir, Coasting with Tat.
But that's fair enough. I mean, I've kind of got to the stage now where I just want to do things I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to do things A, that I think I should do, or B, that I should do to earn a lot of money,
So
you
what
know.
are those things that you want to do?
Well, I love doing panel shows
Yeah.
and I like doing them because they're good fun,
Mm,
but they're so brilliantly self-contained. You don't have to prepare for them.
mm.
You go along, you do them. It either goes great or it goes really badly. And then you just go home and forget about it. Well, the things I don't like doing really are writing kind of comedy series.
Some people love that, don't they? Some people will say, who write their own stuff, it's the writing that I really enjoy the most. That's where I'm at my happiest.
Yes, what's wrong with them? I can't understand that at all. And also the sort of interventions you get if you're writing something for
Oh,
TV
yeah.
drive me insane.
Yeah.
You know, where people make suggestions
Mm.
which in inverted commas or in brackets rather are kind of orders a lot of the
What
time.
do you do? Do you just ignore them? Do you agree and then ignore them?
I agree. I try to facilitate them.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, I ignore them. And then it doesn't get commissioned. you know.
Is there something ideal that you haven't done that you would like to do? Because what you want to do changes, doesn't it, with circumstances and age and I'm finding the idea of a travelogue becoming more and more appealing.
Are you?
Yeah. A real one, not
Travelers.
like the trip that's a narrative construct. I mean, just
Yes.
a real, genuine, sincere one.
I wouldn't want to do a travelogue
No?
unless it was within a 5 mile radius of my house.
Where do you live?
Southeast London
Yeah,
in
it's not
Dulwich.
going to happen, is it?
No, I could go to the Horniman Museum and maybe have a look at Dulwich College, and that'd be it,
The
really.
Horniman Museum that's a proper old-fashioned museum, isn't it? It's a proper museum.
It's a brilliant
I say
museum.
I recommend the Horniman Museum. It's not a history of erotica. It's do you see the speed of thought?
You know, you've still got it.
It's
It's so
quite something,
impressive.
isn't it?
It is.
It is. This is what it must have been like to be around Richard Pryor.
I love Richard Pryor.
Don't we all? Joe, thank you for schlepping over here to West London from Southeast London.
Indeed.
Did you play it up the creek? You must have done.
I did play up the creek,
You
yes.
had good times there?
I always had good times there. I
No.
did, Rob. Yeah, I never had a bad one there.
Died on my ass there.
Did you?
Whole audience making sheep noises.
But you know that the audience totally randomly decided who to hate. You
Well,
know,
that's what I tell
they didn't.
myself.
Well, I mean, I've seen Harry Enfield absolutely die on his arse, and being brilliant.
Yeah,
You know, and then
yeah.
someone came on after him, did a 10-minute joke in Serbo-Croat, and took the roof off. So that's what they're like there. I liked them for that, really.
I drove home distraught.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a long time ago now,
No,
but
I
I
know,
was
but
distraught.
did you go back there?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
And I did okay. In the film of my life, when Tom Cruise is playing me, I would take the roof off when I went back. I didn't. I just did okay. But there's a great Jerry Seinfeld line. He said, who are the people that make it in show business? Who are the ones who get it? I'll tell you who they are. They're the ones who really want it.
is that right?
The ones that they have to do it. And they just keep going. And they don't go, my God, that was so upsetting. I'm not going to do it.
That's interesting. So, did you blame the audience? Because that's
No,
another
I
thing
don't.
I
I'm not one
know.
of those. I don't blame audiences.
No, because I always used to think years ago that if men do badly, they blame the audience, and if women do badly, they blame themselves. But as you
Yeah.
called me sexist earlier, and I refuted that. But there is a bit of me that it goes a little bit too far with those sort of statements because it probably isn't
Oh,
true.
I think there's. I frankly think there's a lot of truth in those statements. But no, but I think that I don't know if it means I have a strong feminine side, but no, I don't blame anybody else for anything. I blame myself for anything that goes wrong. I mean, I'll say the audience were a bit this, a bit quiet, a bit they, a bit but it's not their fault if it doesn't go well.
Absolutely.
It's time to thank our guest, Joe Brand, for making the journey. We've covered many topics, and there will be a fact sheet that you can look at. And if you have been affected, I'm not going to do that joke. Joe,
Okay.
thanks a lot.
I've been affected. It's been lovely. Thanks, Rob.